Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, end user is confused by USB. If it was that easy, we'd do it ourselves. Memorable first day for small company support noob. What if it doesn't come back on? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. End user is confused by USB. This is a story from my time in retail IT, where we handle both credit card readers, signature pads, but also barcode scanners. I worked for a medium-sized, 150 employee/27 location, retail company specializing in cellular resales, think authorized retailers for carriers. I was called in as the director of IT to take over IT for a company without, IT. Prior to my entry, it was actually just disjointed computers without any management, even AD. Towards the start of my work, we had a store manager from a smallish store, who it was always apparent she didn't know tons about electronics, but I figured she had to know some stuff about electronics to be the store manager at a cell phone store. Boy, was I wrong. We generally deployed one wireless scanner for inventory and the rest were wired, for cost reduction, and this store had one wireless scanner. Before I got there, cheaper, lower quality scanners were purchased from Amazon that regularly broke and had zero, literally no, documentation available. This store manager somehow kept putting the scanner into inventory mode, but no one had any idea how. Apparently, a certain series of button presses on the base, which she kept doing, would send it into this mode. After months of IT tickets regarding this, and telling her to stop pressing those buttons repeatedly, we made the decision to remove the wireless scanners as they were clearly too difficult for this store to understand how to use properly. We sent a symbol wired scanner, more expensive but far better, to the branch, which plugged in via USB, and was plug and play, as it emulated an HID keyboard. I put instructions in the box, and I thought that would be it. Until it wasn't. I get an email forwarded from one of our inventory operations employees saying they received an email, seemingly to avoid IT, asking how to set the scanner up. The email read along the lines of, "Hello. I'm not a fan of, so I'm hoping you can help me. I need someone to drive out to my branch to set up this scanner. It's very confusing. I have asked everyone and nobody knows how to do it. Thanks." I reached out to the employee and the conversation went something like this. Me, hi, SM. I understand you were having issues with setting up the scanner? SM, oh God. Yes, I followed the instructions and it's very confusing. Me, so, it should just be a USB cable. Have you tried plugging it into the computer? SM, there's no open ports. Me, have you unplugged the old one? SM, it has two cables going straight into the ground. Turns out it just had a bit of the slack tucked into the desk, so easy fix. However, she continued to be utterly confused by the USB cable, then refused to troubleshoot further. Asked for another employee, who said they had tried to help but she refused to let them. Plugged the cable in and it worked fine. Astonishing how some people have the jobs they do, isn't it? If it was that easy, we'd do it ourselves. This is a story from the time when I was a consultant. I called myself a security consultant, but because the sales team knew nothing about security, I got sold for any job from tech support to high-class security design. The year is 2000, the customer is a small private bank, the sales team qualified the job as a firewall configuration on a Sun server. Persons, $CUST, the team leader for the customer's ops team and $ME, the freshly minted checkpoint firewall specialist. Arrival at the customer's site in the middle of Frankfurt, Germany at 9 a.m., shiny-eyed and bushy-tailed. I get shown into the basement and led to a Sun 5 pizza box that shows 4 network cables connected to it. All LEDs are blinking continuously. $CUST, this is the firewall to our home banking site, we'd like you to make a copy of it for redundancy purposes. $ME, no problem, if you give me the root password I'll be done tonight. $CUST, well, if it was that easy we'd do it ourselves. The former firewall admin left 18 months ago and forgot to leave the credentials. We didn't notice until lately, but now we'd like to have a redundant firewall. $ME, okay, plan B, we schedule a downtime tonight at 2 a.m. and boot the firewall from CD, change the root password and make a copy tomorrow. $CUST, we had that idea as well, but the documentation shows that there is a boot password, which we don't know as well. This can be a plan Z for the last resort. We already have organized an unprotected boot ROM to exchange it with the current one, but until then you need to do it differently. $ME, you want me to hack into the firewall server? $CUST, no, you'd probably break something, and because we don't have a copy of this firewall you're not allowed to touch it until you made a copy. $ME, with a sinking feeling alright, what's the plan then? $CUST, as you might have noticed, there are port replicators on all 4 Ethernet cables going in and out of the firewall. Your job for the next 2 weeks is to deduce the current firewall rules from listening to the traffic on all ends of the firewall and recreate the rule set out of that. We have a lab for you. I get shown into a huge loading bay. It's completely empty, but for a big conference table stacked with Sun pizza boxes, network cables, and a single chair. 4 suspicious network cables are leading out of a vent hole to the table. At lunchtime, I had a basic listening setup completed. A server with a 4-port network card, dump running on all 4 ports and writing logs with millisecond timestamps. Later in the afternoon, I had another shell job finished, sorting the separate logs into a single log that showed the flow of traffic through the firewall. I was lucky in that the firewall itself was something called portcullis, the rule set existed as text file only, and the firewall software was mainly written in Perl. So I wrote myself another Perl script which parsed the logs my dumps created and wrote firewall rules as output. The next week was spent making sure my scripts kept running, and mainly reading the newest Harry Potter novel, out that week. Finally, the output rule set was beautified by $ME and loaded onto a freshly installed, all credentials documented, firewall, which was put on top of the current one. The $CUST unceremoniously switched the network cables from the current pizza box over to the new one and everything worked. To my inner amazement outward I kept my cool. Another happy customer, who immediately booked me for a follow-up job of a much higher magnitude, but that is another story. Memorable first day for small company support noob. Not a horror story by any means, just an experience I had working support years ago that I thought might cause a smile or two here. Late 2003, I got a job working for a small but up-and-coming manufacturer of consumer gadgets. After years of making super niche, but useful products for a small but loyal fan base, this company had hit a home run with an accessory for the then-new music rectangle from a certain fruit company. At the time I'd just come off of back-to-back super stressful 80-plus hours/week jobs during the dot-com boom and needed a change of pace. Had never done support before, but considered myself a reasonably intelligent guy and figured I could handle it. Plus, it was a straight 9-to-5 type job which was very appealing to me at the time. I could come in, do my work, then go home and not have to think about it again until the next day. When I joined there were 3 full-time support staffers handling everything from phones to emails to various odds and ends. We were also the de facto switchboard for the company, because the antiquated phone system didn't have extensions or voicemail. If someone called in, every phone in the building rang, and it was our job to answer it. All that to say that it was a busy time and place. And because they were small, understaffed, and overworked, no one had ever taken the time to develop any sort of training or resources. My first day, the manager of the department, awesome guy who I still love dearly, did his best to give me the lay of the land and an overview of the products. There were probably around 20 different products they'd made by that point, and I was familiar with exactly one of them, the home run product. So I get a quick overview of each of the products, and a promise to be able to take a bunch of samples home with me to better understand them. Cool, I think. I love gadgets and am looking forward to trying these out, even though some of them were wildly esoteric adapters for very particular use case scenarios. After maybe an hour or two of this, I'm directed to a desk, not in the support area, because they were out of space, but away over in the engineering section, put in front of a phone, and told to answer it. No scripts. No procedures. No user manuals. No FAQs. No database of product details. Not even a company directory. Talk about trial by fire. My first few calls were asking me to find person A or person B, which was definitely a challenge, because I had no idea who most of these people were. But the one that sticks with me all these years later is my first product call. It goes something like this. Me, hi, thanks for calling company, this is OP, how can I help you? Caller, something 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 product X. Me, okay. Yep. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, got it. Could you hold on for me 1 second, sir, while I do some research? Product X was not only something I hadn't been shown yet, but its name was very similar to a couple of the company's other products, and despite the similar naming, they all did radically different things. I put the phone on mute and take a breath to figure out how I'm going to handle this. Me, calling out to the room, what does Product X do? Some kind soul or other answered, it connects thing alpha to doohickey bravo. Me to kind soul thanks. Me to caller okay, sorry about that, caller. Okay. Yeah. Oh really? Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that is frustrating. Just one more moment, please. I put the phone on mute again. Me, calling out to the room, Product X supposed to do feature Y? And on like that the rest of the day. I'm amazed I didn't get fired, and I was so drained by the end of that day I seriously considered just not coming back the next day. But over time I got better and eventually knew all those products inside and out. Only lasted in support about a year before I moved on to another part of the company, but stayed there for 13 more years after that first fateful day. It was a crazy place with many crazy stores and even crazier people, but truly taught me what amazing people support staff are, the types of ridiculousness they have to put up with, and how they are not to be taken for granted. What if it doesn't come back on? Background: without giving too much away, I was working remote support for a suite of programs for government employees. The vast majority of clients were very knowledgeable, worked in the IT field, and could just about tell me exactly what needed to be done, they just didn't have the permissions to do it themselves. This story isn't about that kind of customer. This client calls in. They're the kind of client who somehow got their job without knowing anything, and did their best not to learn any more in the decades they were employed. They even had a favorite phrase, as every call started with "Hi support, I'm curious. Why is program not doing thing?" Of course, this takes several questions to actually get to the root of what they're asking. After some back and forth, I figure out they're calling about a memory leak issue. This issue went unnoticed for a while in an earlier version of our software, because it doesn't usually start causing problems unless the server has been running for over a month, and most clients are good about applying updates and restarting on a regular basis. The issue was also fixed several versions ago. I explained this to the client for maybe the 10th time. This is an issue with the version of the software you're on. It's been fixed for 3 updates now. We can get you updated, and you won't have to call in about it anymore. Client interrupts me, no, we don't have time for that. We're very busy. Just fix it. I sigh. I explain that a restart will fix it, but they don't listen either. Client says, just walk me through connecting you, and you can take care of it. After a few minutes they get me connected. Now, despite this, I still need to get the client's permission to restart the system, so as to not disrupt other users. Client says, go ahead, restart it. I hover my mouse over the restart button. I'm just about to click when I hear, wait. I pause in anticipation. They continue, what if it doesn't start back up? My mind takes a minute to recalibrate, as I wasn't expecting this question. What do you mean? I ask stupidly. The client says, more worried now, what if you turn the server off and it doesn't come back on? At this point I realize I should have just ignored them and hit restart in the first place, but it's too late. I try to get more information out of them. Why wouldn't it come back on? Well, I don't know. Has it given you trouble starting up before? No. I'm grasping at straws here, have you had any other machines with issues booting up lately? No. So there's no reason to think it wouldn't start back up, right? I guess. I hover the mouse over the restart button again, about to click it, but what if it doesn't start back up? I struggle through this conversation for a few more minutes before finally figuring out that the client doesn't know where the server is. They're afraid it would have an issue, and they wouldn't know where it physically is. This might be a reasonable concern if this wasn't about the 10th time I had done a reboot for this client. I finally assuage their fears by saying, well, if it doesn't want to start anymore then we both have a bigger problem on our hands, and it's a good thing you have support on the phone. I guess he just wanted to know that I wouldn't hang up on him and block his number if something went wrong. I finally got the okay, waited what must have been a nail-biting 2 minutes for him as the server rebooted, and then got him to confirm everything was working as expected. Ticket logged and closed until next month when he calls in again. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.